Getting ready to buy or sell a home in 30, 60, or 90 days? Then check out bundleselect.com to find out how you could save 20% or more on your entire transaction. Save on real estate, lending, and title. With bundleselect.com, technology and a personal concierge are at your service to save you time and money. Bundle Select's hand-picked team of experts will compete for your business, so you'll save thousands of dollars by bundling all of these services. BundleSelect.com gives you all the control, including using your own realtor. I'm Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live, and I have been on the radio educating consumers for years. By bundling services like real estate, lending, and title, you could save tens of thousands of dollars. Act now, and this new model could save you money on your move, lower your interest rate, or cover your closing costs. Visit BundleSelect.com. That's BundleSelect.com.
The estimated minimum savings are based on a comparison with a national average. Individual results may vary, and the estimated savings are not guaranteed. Bundle Select Inc. is a licensed real estate broker. California Bureau of Real Estate Broker license number 004666902.
Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging podcast discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Kuchera, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome in, Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. Thank you for those that are following us on Facebook. Go on the live feed. We continue to try to keep our shows consistent on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. Just to let everyone know, we try to again get them started about 3 to 3:05 to stay consistent. And then we will do that continuing. If we have any extra guests or different shows, we'll try to post those as well. We have, as most of you know, you've been following the show, Jack Russo, who is our attorney, has been kind enough to spend some time on a new series called Starting Something New in Silicon Valley. We're doing startups really from start to finish, a lot of education that way. There seems to be a big interest since we're here in Silicon Valley, so we're doing that. And stay tuned for some exciting news. We are going to be starting a series in a week or so, if everything goes well, and it's really about building wealth with your home and really home wealth, just a wealth kind of synergy around all kinds of different opportunities around real estate and how to build wealth around it. And I'm excited about that because we're going to do an ongoing series. So stay tuned for that. For more information, you could always go to RERL-1520.com. As much as we love the people that follow the show here on Facebook and the live feed, we'd love to have you download the podcast. That way you can listen to the show at your convenience. When it's available anytime, you can jump in and listen to that. You could go to RERadiolive.com. You could also go to iTunes and enter Real Estate Radio Live. And I just heard today that Google just launched a podcast app. So that's just for Android. Is that right, Lily? Just for Androids, right? So it's not going to help the iPhone people. But there you go. Anytime Google gets into something, it could be interesting. All right, for more information during the week, if you want to reach me, 408-838-9060, or you can always email joe at reradiolive.com. Let me welcome in my guest. She is a regular visitor to the show. It's good to have her back. Laura Peterson, good to have you here today.
Always good to be here. Thanks for having me.
We have the insurance expert here. It's always great to have Laura. You know, she's going to be talking about a couple different insurances, auto, and we're going to do some disability, right? Yeah. Auto and disability.
Yeah.
And then maybe cover a couple other things. Really, in general, insurance is so important, and not only the insurance, but who you're working with. There's so much that's taken place. Last time, Laura and I talked a little bit about, you know, how all of our industries are changing. Who do you trust in the insurance business? And most people, I'll say, and then I'll turn it over to Laura, you know, most of us, we know we need insurance, we get insurance, we pay for our insurance, and then the trouble is sometimes when we need to use it, the coverage may not be there, or we really don't know what we have. And so that's an important component Laura will talk about too. So welcome in again. Let's get started. Laura, if you could give the listeners and the people that are viewing at this point a little bit about your background, and we'll get started.
All right. So I was born and raised in San Jose and opened my agency here in Los Gatos in 2006. So I've had the same location on the corner of Lark and Winchester for about 12 years now. And we kind of run a full-service insurance agency from auto insurance, home insurance, liability coverage, over to the business insurance and disability area as well.
Very good. So let's talk a little bit about, let's start with auto insurance, maybe just the basic needs of auto insurance. I mean, to categorize, I guess one of the things that came to mind when I saw this auto insurance that I get, people ask me, and I'm sure you get it all the time, is there that drastic of a difference of insurance, Laura, from state to state or even county to county sometimes with auto insurance?
County to county, not so much. State to state, yes, every state has their own Department of Insurance.
Okay.
So it's not generally huge differences, but there can be some large differences. I help people moving into California, and, in order to get your car registered here, you have to get insurance in the state. So sometimes we get a lot more questions from people moving from out of state. Sometimes the pricing in California, shocker, I'm sure, is higher than where they came from, depending on where they came from. So every zip code does have a different insurance rate, but as far as coverages and things like that goes, it is regulated by state.
Okay. And what are the areas that you cover? I mean, is it primarily the Bay Area? What can give us kind of the areas that typically you and your team would cover here?
I am licensed all over California, but typically Bay Area, and then even more specifically, a lot of our clients are from the South Bay or even just, Los Gatos. There's a high concentrated area there just because people will see my office or the signs or look us up online. So, yeah.
Very good. Maybe just the basics of auto insurance. I know that sounds basic, but I always, when I do these shows, and especially when I have experts on in different areas, I love to start with the simple basics because a lot of people may not know. They're busy. They get insurance. They get coverages. So if you can kind of give us the overview of maybe the average person out there, what they need to know about auto insurance, what kind of coverages, liabilities, give us some basics on that, if you would.
Yeah. So the first thing would be, and the first thing we look at when helping someone is liability coverage. That's where, when we're driving a car, that's where we can probably do more damage than doing anything else.
Good point.
So the state of California has a state minimum, and sometimes people think that's all that they need. What the state of California says is in order to be legally driving a vehicle, you need to have $15,000 per person in bodily injury coverage, $30,000 per accident in bodily injury coverage to protect the other party if you were at fault, and just $5,000 for property damage.
Okay.
So breaking that down, when you look at just the property damage piece, I tell clients, look, if you hit a Tesla and you're at fault and that car is totaled or even severely damaged, if you have the state minimums, you have $5,000 in coverage. So the insurance company will pay the first $5,000 and you would pay the rest. So liability is very important, and of course we will sit down and advise on how much liability coverage you need because it's not what the state requires. It's much higher than that generally.
All right. What about just the term full coverage? I have full coverage. What does that mean? Or actually, do people know what that means even when they say that?
I don't know what that means. That is more of a, if you will, street or slang term, but I hear it all the time. Oh, I thought I had full coverage, or hey, I just need full coverage. I think what people are typically referring to is liability, comp, and collision. So having all those coverages. I will break that down more and say, well, how much liability coverage do you have? Or let's look at how much you need. Or if you have comp and collision, what are your deductibles? So we break that down a lot more because just feeling like you have full coverage doesn't mean if you have a claim, you're covered. I mean, you really want to know what's the contract limits and deductibles at claim time.
Right. And in this situation, one does not fit all. In other words, my guess is you sit down with every single client, you find out the profile, the makeup of it, and then make recommendations. Because I know, I'll give you an example, like in health insurance, they're obviously very costly here in California, and I pay a lot. And every year I look at the review of health insurance, I'll have a tendency to actually take a higher deductible and hope that you stay healthy, right? Because my opinion is, I'd rather save monthly, and then if something really happens seriously, at least I know I'm covered.
Yep.
Certainly I'll know what out of the pocket is going to be. How do you look on the auto insurance that way? Is it each individual you have to really sit down and figure out what tailors to them?
Absolutely. So the example you gave is great. So if someone has a claim, I'll say, look, typically we will recommend a $1,000 collision deductible. Are you comfortable with that? And some people are like, no, I don't want to have to pay $1,000 if I get an accident. Fair enough. Maybe we'll look at $500 or $250, and then we'll do what you did, where we'll look at, okay, by going to $1,000, you're going to save $50 a month. Is that worth it to you? So we try to ask a lot of questions, give recommendations, but not just give one option, because I always want to make sure if you have a claim, if you have an accident, you are happy and comfortable with what your coverages and deductibles are.
Right. How would you categorize? I mean, one of the things I always like to ask too, we're all in different businesses. I mean, I'm residential financing and mortgage. There's hundreds of different mortgage companies. There's a bunch of different insurance companies. You hear stuff online. You hear stuff on the news. What to understand and believe. It's a noisy world right now, right? What, in your opinion, separates? I mean, you guys have been around a long time. You have an excellent reputation here in the Bay Area. I'm guessing service, feedback, follow-through, communication. Rates are rates are rates. What is your thought in general? What is important if the person's listening to this show right now, the important components of choosing an insurance company?
I would say responsiveness and easy access. So easy access might mean, hey, I can pick up the phone and call and I know someone's going to answer. In the case of us, that's true. Even if we're closed, we do have 24-hour service. It may to a customer, because as you know, everybody has different desires when it comes to what's important to them. It might just be, hey, I want to send an email and get a response within 24 hours. Or I want to be able to go to an app and log in and see my policy. So we have made it so that people can do all of those things. And so I think partly it's understanding what matters most to them and making sure that it fits. So I think responsiveness, someone that will meet with you pretty regularly, maybe every 1 to 3 years to do a review, and will proactively reach out to offer that. And again, some people will say, I don't want to do a review. It's, it's not important to me. Some will say, hey, I want to do it on the phone. And some will say, I want to meet. So I think having some sort of proactive way of regularly reviewing coverages is important. Both of those things. And, rates are important. We try to not make it a commodity. That seems to be the way that the industry is going a little bit, but we try to really overcome that. But rates are important, and I think asking, hey, if I stay with you for 3, 5, 10, 15 years, what are your loyalty discounts? Am I going to get some loyalty discounts as I go along? So that's an important question as well.
And I'll tell you, from a consumer's perspective, personal experience, I may have shared this with you last time we were on, but I was with a certain insurance company for years and years. Everything was fine, but then a gentleman talked me into, we could do some business together. They were a broker, a pretty big broker, and so we put together a program, and it was very close, very competitive. So, maybe there's a working relationship, so I switched. The next year, when it came up for renewal, it completely changed for no reason. And I called him, and I said, I had no accidents, no tickets. What's going on? Oh, well, it's just the brokerage, the coverage, blah, blah. So I guess my point is I've had personal experience with that. And that's something one has to be careful with too, right?
Yeah, I think getting a good explanation is important. I wish I could say a customer's never called us and asked why their bill went up, but it happens every day. And so making sure that you're getting a good explanation and making sure that, you're getting all the discounts you should be. We have seen, just to kind of talk about rates and specific to auto insurance, you would think over time rates may go down, especially like, hey, my car is getting older. Why aren't my rates going down? We are seeing auto insurance rates on an upward trend this year across our industry, not just, a specific company, due to accidents being at an all-time high due to distracted driving, cars costing more to repair due to technology. So whereas a simple windshield was a few $100s before. I just had a client, it was $1,500 due to special sensors in the windows, things like that. And then cost of labor going up typically as well. So it's frustrating from a consumer perspective because the thought is perhaps over time rates are going down. And we are seeing them, especially this year, we did see across the whole industry rates going up as well. Right.
And do you ever get the question, how come my cousin in Texas doesn't pay as much for me?
Totally.
That's the one I love all the time.
Or even, how come the guy that sits next to me at work pays less? I'm like, you know what? I'd have to see his policy. What are his coverages? Right. What kind of car is he driving? Right. And all those things. How many miles a year does he drive? Things like that. Before we take our first break, the other question I had, and it comes up quite a bit. So what does a person have to know, Laura, when they get a ticket? I know maybe could it be the type of ticket? Does it matter what type of ticket? If it's a speeding ticket, if it's a illegal U-turn, parking. Tell us a little bit about how that might affect a person's insurance policy, number one, and what types of things can you do to potentially make sure, do whatever you can so the rates may not go up. How does that work? Well, don't speed. No, I'm just
Thank
kidding.
you. Don't text while you drive.
Exactly. So my first thing is always, if you have the opportunity to go to traffic school, it's always worth it.
Okay.
And I know traffic school, there's a cost to it, but it always outweighs the rate going up. So that's the first thing. As far as what tickets would affect your insurance rates, the DMV reports directly to insurance companies, and the things that are chargeable would be, let's talk about what's not chargeable, because it's just a few things. Right now, cell phone tickets are still not chargeable.
Okay.
I have a feeling, and I've definitely heard that will change, which doesn't surprise me, because that's where a lot of the accidents are coming from. And parking tickets are not chargeable on your insurance. Just about everything else, carpool violations, illegal U-turns, speeding, all of that. If you don't go to traffic school, you will see at time of renewal your auto insurance impacted by that. So go to traffic school for sure if you can. Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. Before we do that, Laura, for those that may want to reach you for more information about insurance or anything that you do, what's the best phone number, website, email? What's the best place to reach you?
Sure. Calling the office is great, 408-395-2900.
Very good. All right, we're going to take a quick break. For those that are watching us on the live feed Facebook, stick with us, and we hope we won't make fools of ourselves during the quick break. But we're going to take about a minute for the podcast, and we're going to come back and continue the show. This is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. We'll be back in about a minute to continue the show. Thanks.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com.
Getting ready to buy or sell a home in 30, 60, or 90 days? Then check out BundleSelect.com to find out how you could save 20% or more on your entire transaction. Save on real estate, lending, and title. With BundleSelect.com, technology and a personal concierge are at your service to save you time and money. Bundle Select's hand-picked team of experts will compete for your business, so you'll save thousands of dollars by bundling all of these services. BundleSelect.com gives you all the control, including using your own realtor. I'm Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live, and I have been on the radio educating consumers for years. By bundling services like real estate, lending, and title, you could save tens of thousands of dollars. Act now, and this new model could save you money on your move, lower your interest rate, or cover your closing costs. Visit BundleSelect.com. That's BundleSelect.com.
The estimated minimum savings are based on a comparison with a national average. Individual results may vary, and the estimated savings are not guaranteed. Bundle Select Inc. is a licensed real estate broker. California Bureau of Real Estate Broker license number 004666902.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's topic or guests, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome back in. Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live, here today with Laura Peterson, talking about insurance, a number of different insurance. She's an expert here in the Bay Area. We first talked a little bit about auto insurance. We're going to finish up with that, and then we're going to move a little bit and talk about disability insurance, which is really important as well. So just finishing up on auto insurance, Laura, the component of someone potentially getting hurt. I know we talked a little bit about coverages and what people may want, but I guess that's a big one too, right? I mean, if you're in an accident and you either get injured or someone else get injured, and it gets into, hopefully it doesn't situation, but just lawsuits or who knows. I mean, people that become disabled. I mean, there are all kinds of possibilities. Unfortunately, negative things that could happen, right? What would you consult, or how do you work around that? Is that still in the initial consultation? You cover that kind of stuff in general?
We do, and then we cover it in our reviews. But when looking at if you hurt somebody else, that's where, again, appropriate liability coverage is important, and where we most of the time recommend a liability umbrella, which essentially is just excess liability, extra liability coverage up to $1, $2, $3, $5 million, whichever amount you choose, so that if you're sued, you're found legally liable or negligent, you have enough liability coverage to cover a lawsuit if it goes to that, cover legal fees, etc. So that would be if you are at fault and somebody else is injured. If you're injured, potentially the other person's auto insurance, if they have enough coverage to cover your injuries. Your health insurance typically steps in. A gap I see a lot is medical payments. That's a very inexpensive way to get some extra coverage for you in the event that you're hurt from an accident. And a lot of times when I see people coming to me, they don't have it because they say, oh, well, I have health insurance. But time and time again, they need to see a chiropractor after an accident. They need specific tests done, and they're paying out of pocket and waiting to get reimbursed by health insurance, and sometimes do and sometimes don't. So I guess the takeaway would be medical payments. See if you have that. If you don't, add it, because it's very inexpensive to give you a lot more coverage should you be injured. Okay.
And the umbrella policy, my guess is that's really a product of, let's face it, what potentially they have to lose, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, if you have a lot of assets and a business and a home and all this, my guess is you better seriously look at an umbrella policy, or at least something that could potentially cover you in an event that something happens unnecessary. I mean, that really you don't have any control in some cases to protect your interests.
Yeah, like you were saying, kind of the more money you make, the more that you have, the more that you own, the more you really have to protect it, and typically the more insurance you need. So we use the umbrella policy and do the coverage amount according to your income and your assets.
Okay. Let's talk about disability insurance now. And, that's, again, one of these things that we hear about, we see even through employers. I mean, they offer a minimum. I know state and county stuff's a little bit different. But, and you know these statistics better than anyone, most of us, again, we never think this is going to happen. We don't think about it much. Maybe we don't invest in it much. And I know, one doesn't mean everything. I mean, each person has to individually make these decisions. Mm-hmm. But talk a little bit about disability insurance, what maybe categories of people that should consider it, maybe more than others. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I guess one stat that I'd like to share is, by the time that we retire, usually 1 in 4 of us would be disabled.
Wow, that's
and
a lot.
Not able to work for a period of time. So the percentages are fairly high. I think the category of people that need to think most about it would be self-employed people, independent contractors. So if you don't have it through a large company, that's the people that we reach out to the most about. It would be self-employed. We will, if someone works for a large company, when we do their review, we'll say, bring in your documents. We want to see what you have at work, because sometimes they only have short-term disability at work. So if they're disabled and can't work, they get their income or a percentage of it replaced for 6 months, but not beyond that. Or they only have long-term, which means it doesn't kick in right away. So it's really important just to know what you have, and if you feel that it's not adequate or if you have nothing, that you're kind of addressing that.
Got it. This may be a dumb question, but so I know you work with individuals and families on insurances. So do you also work with small companies for these types of needs too?
I do not do group disability.
Okay. All right.
But if I think... I met with someone the other day, and, an owner, and her getting individual disability was not inexpensive. And I said, hey, you may want to just see if you can set up a group disability policy through a broker where your employees can have coverage plus you. That might be a more affordable way to do it. So sometimes that makes sense. It's not something I offer, but I just do individual disability.
Okay. Do you cover companies, insurances for companies too, or mostly just the personal auto, life, disabilities that we talked about?
We do business insurance.
You do?
So for consultants, small businesses, delis, coffee shops, restaurants, a lot.
Yeah. Do you do a lot?
Yeah.
Percentage-wise, do you do more personal stuff and family stuff versus that, or just
more personal
across the board?
More personal, and then as our clients start businesses or know people that do, that's where kind of the business insurance comes in.
How much life insurance, how much do you guys do? I mean, do you guys do quite a bit in your group? Or
we do. Yeah, we do. I mean, I don't know what a lot is, but we probably do about 100 life insurance policies each year.
Yeah, that's quite a bit.
100 individuals.
How is that changing? I'm hearing that, those, I don't know if it's because it's more competitive, people are living longer, the testing, whatever. Typically, policies, the prices are coming down.
They are.
Yeah?
Yeah, so it's always nice to talk about something that the pricing is coming down. Yes.
What is the reason for that in general?
I think it's what you said. I think mostly because people are living longer. Okay. So I think mortality tables, they've probably gotten even better and better at, the actuary. So charging correctly for the risk. So I'm sure that's part of it as well. But I would say mostly that people are living longer.
Okay.
Yeah.
On these policies, there used to be, I remember years ago, the thought was my financial planner says, hey, get into a policy before you're 40 because otherwise it's really expensive. And, a lot of the planning has to do with your children and their ages and all that. So what are these days when they consider, what is it called, medical? Like how much life insurance can you get without this so-called medical where they come in and do blood and all that? How does that work these days?
Not much. If you're under, and every company has different parameters. Okay, first of all, if you're getting it through work, which is you don't own it when you have it at work, you don't have control of it, only covers you while you work there. But I always say, hey, get as much as you can at work because typically you don't have to qualify. But when getting personal life insurance outside of an employer, if you're, in our case, usually under 35 and you're getting under $250,000, you can usually avoid a physical and a lot of testing. Other than that, if you're, over that age and getting more coverage, typically there's a phone interview where, they ask about medical history and lifestyle, et cetera, and then they pull medical records if needed, and then also come to your house and they do a physical. So it's hard to avoid that underwriting process unless you just don't need much coverage at all or unless you're, really young. Okay.
3 or 4 minutes left to go. I always like to ask, too, how is technology changing your business for the consumer, for your business? For instance, in your business right now, consumers have the ability to use technology quicker, faster, more effective. How is it changing?
Yeah, it's affecting it a lot, mostly in a good way. It used to be someone had to call my office for everything they needed. Hey, can you send me a copy of this? Or, hey, can you send me a copy of my bill? And now they can log on and see it. So Good. People love that. I just had a client the other day. I followed up with her and said, how's everything going with your claim? I know you had an accident last week. She's like, great. I took pictures of my car, uploaded them through the app, and then the company that was handling the claim approved it and sent me a check. Wow. And so a lot of companies are going that direction where you can actually have a claim paid just without even taking your car to a shop. So it's mostly affecting it in a good way.
And apps, so people could use, you guys have different apps they could use for
most companies these days have some kind of app, and you can get your account and you can see your policies in there. You can manage your claim that way. There's usually a need for people involved, and that's good for me, but the app can facilitate things and move it along a little faster sometimes. Yeah.
Before we duck out to the other thing, last thing, would you recommend, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but a couple of last words or words of wisdom from you, the pro, that people review their policies once a year or so just to make sure with you?
Yes, before you have a claim, because people we get the most calls like the day after an earthquake or the day after major fires or the day after someone knows their friend got in a car accident. So that's pretty normal human behavior, but it is a good practice to just do a check-in with the company you're insured with or the person or, at least every 2 years, if not more.
Very good. Before we duck out again, if you want to give the listeners an idea of where they could reach you, phone number, is that the best place?
Calling the office, 408-395-2900. My website is laurapeterson.net.
Very good. All right, we're going to sign off. Joe Kuchera at the Real Estate Radio Live, and on our website, Laura is also featured there under insurance companies, now that I think of it, so you can reach her there as well. Thank you again for those that are following us on Facebook, and later on when you're listening to the podcast, thank you, and don't forget to share it with your friends, family, and coworkers. This is Joe Kuchera at the Real Estate Radio Live. Thanks again for being with us this afternoon. Take care.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Discover more at RERadiolive.com.